Gluten is not the problem you think it is, and for some people, it's a brain issue. Let me start with a question that might make you uncomfortable. What if gluten isn't just upsetting your stomach? What if it's quietly affecting your brain? Not in a dramatic overnight way, not in a way that sends you to the emergency room, but in a slow, subtle way that shows up as brain fog. Clumsiness, poor balance, feeling off in your body without being able to explain why. Most people think gluten sensitivity is a diet trend, something influencers argue about, something you try for weight loss and quit after 2 weeks. But there is a neurological condition called gluten ataxia that has nothing to do with dieting and everything to do with the immune system attacking the brain. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. You do not need celiac disease, you do not need digestive symptoms, and your tests can look completely normal. Today we're going to explain what gluten actually does in the body, why some people react even without celiac disease, and why gluten can be so hard to quit in the first place. This isn't about fear, it's about biology. Before we go further, if you want simple, no-nonsense functional health explainers that help you understand what your body's actually doing, not trends, not hacks, not diet wars, take a second to subscribe and turn on notifications. We explain health clearly so you can work with your biology instead of fighting it. Now let's break this down. The biggest misunderstanding about gluten. Most people believe there are only two options. Either you have celiac disease, or gluten doesn't affect you. That binary thinking is the problem. Celiac disease is an autoimmune condition that damages the small intestine. It shows up on biopsies. Doctors are trained to look for it. But non-celiac gluten sensitivity is different. There may be no visible intestinal damage, no classic lab markers, and often no digestive symptoms at all. Which is why so many people are told that your gut looks fine, gluten isn't the issue. And yet the symptoms don't go away. What gluten actually is. Gluten is not a single substance. It's a group of proteins, mainly gliadin and glutenin, found in wheat, barley and rye. And gliadin is the key player. Gliadin is biologically active, it interacts directly with the immune system. And in susceptible people, it triggers inflammation far beyond the gut. This is not opinion. This is immunology. How gluten opens the door. When gluten enters the digestive tract, it can stimulate the release of a protein called zonulin. Zonulin loosens the tight junctions between cells lining the intestines. In simple terms, the gut barrier becomes more permeable. That allows particles that were never meant to enter the bloodstream to pass through. Once that happens, the immune system does exactly what it's designed to do. It attacks, but it doesn't always stay localized. When the immune system gets confused, the immune system works by pattern recognition. If a foreign protein looks similar to a protein in your own body, the immune system can cross-react. This is called molecular mimicry. And in the case of gluten, some of the tissues that get caught in the crossfire include joints, skin, hormone receptors, and critically, neural tissue. Especially tissue in the cerebellum, the part of the brain responsible for balance, coordination, and fine motor control. This is where gluten stops being just food. What is gluten ataxia? Gluten ataxia is an immune-mediated neurological condition. It occurs when antibodies triggered by gluten attack parts of the nervous system, particularly the cerebellum. And this is what makes it so dangerous. You do not need digestive symptoms, you do not need celiac disease, and early imaging can look normal. Symptoms often show up as poor balance, clumsiness, difficulty walking straight, frequent tripping or falls, hand tremors, slurred or slowed speech, brain fog, difficulty with coordination or handwriting, a persistent sense that something feels off. Many people are told it's anxiety, or stress, or aging, or just neurological. Meanwhile, the immune system continues firing. Why gluten ataxia is so often missed. Modern medicine is compartmentalized. The gut is one specialty and the brain is another. If the intestine isn't visibly damaged, gluten is dismissed. If the MRI is clean, symptoms are minimized. But immune-mediated damage doesn't always show up immediately. And there's a crucial difference here. Gut tissue can regenerate. Neurons do not regenerate easily. That's why early recognition matters. Why gluten is so hard to quit, and it's not weakness. There's another piece of this puzzle almost nobody explains. When gluten is digested, it breaks down into compounds called gluteomorphins, and the name is important. Gluteomorphins bind to the same opioid receptors in the brain that morphine and heroin interact with. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, biochemically, these compounds don't cause an intense high. They produce a subtle, calming, soothing, rewarding signal. For the brain, that signal feels like relief, which means gluten doesn't just act like food. For some people, it acts like a neurochemical comfort loop. This is why people often say, I feel better when I eat bread. I crave it when I'm stressed. I can't stick to gluten-free no matter how hard I try. That's not lack of discipline, that's receptor activation. Why withdrawal feels real? Because it is. When gluten is removed, the brain loses that opioid-like stimulation. And just like with any substance that binds to those receptors, the nervous system reacts. People may experience headaches, irritability, anxiety, low mood, fatigue, strong cravings, emotional flatness. This isn't imagined, it's neurochemical recalibration. And it's one of the biggest reasons people return to gluten, without realizing what's happening. They think something is wrong. In reality, the brain is adjusting. Why willpower alone doesn't work. You cannot out-discipline an opioid receptor. If gluten is triggering immune inflammation and neurochemical reinforcement, the pullback to it can be powerful. This is why relapse isn't failure, it's biology seeking relief. Understanding this removes shame and changes the strategy. Why symptoms are delayed and confusing. Unlike a classic food allergy, gluten reactions are often delayed. You might eat gluten on Monday and feel the neurological effects on Wednesday. That disconnect makes it nearly impossible to identify patterns unless gluten is removed completely for a period of time. Which is why people say, I don't think gluten affects me, when in reality they've never seen their baseline without it. The logical approach. This isn't about lifelong restriction without evidence. The logical approach is temporary removal and observation. A strict gluten elimination, not reduction, gives the immune system a chance to calm and the nervous system a chance to stabilize. In people with neurological involvement, improvements may include better balance, clearer thinking, less internal static, improved coordination, sometimes subtle, sometimes life-changing, but always informative. One final reality check. Gluten reactions are not the same for everyone. Some people are dose-dependent, others are binary. Neurological reactions tend to be binary. There is no cheat day for an immune system that attacks neural tissue. That's not fear, that's physiology. Final thoughts. Health doesn't begin with restriction. It begins with understanding. Gluten sensitivity and gluten ataxia are not opinions. They are immune-driven biological responses, and the earlier they're recognized, the better the outcomes tend to be. If this video helped you see gluten and your symptoms through a clearer, more logical lens, subscribe for more simple functional health explainers. We don't chase trends here. We explain system, because when you understand the system, you gain the power to change it. Thanks for being here. Stay curious, stay grounded, and as always, stay logical. One last thing before you go. If this video made you realize that your symptoms might not be random, that your body might be reacting to deeper immune, neurological, or metabolic signals, you're not alone. This is exactly where functional medicine comes in. Functional medicine doesn't ask what diagnosis fits. It asks what systems are out of balance and why. If you're interested in learning how to get help improving your overall health through a functional medicine approach, whether that's understanding food reactions, calming inflammation, supporting the nervous system, or restoring balance, leave a comment below. Just tell us what you're struggling with or what you want to understand better. We read the comments, and they help shape the next explainers we create.